to our detailed analysis. You know, we love taking fascinating source materials and breaking them down so you can really understand what makes them tick. Well, today we've got something incredibly special for you. We're looking at a creative brief, literally a pitch for a 5-minute cinematic explainer all about the importance of education. Now, this isn't just some basic script. It's a meticulously crafted, emotional storyboard. It outlines specific visual metaphors, thematic messaging, and a classic narrative arc designed to completely move an audience. So we're going to deconstruct exactly how this source material plans to capture our hearts and minds, relying purely on the visual and structural cues provided in the text. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Right out of the gate, the source material anchors its entire vision on one profound principle. Knowledge is light, and ignorance is darkness. Now, this isn't just a nice saying, right? It's the actual visual blueprint for the entire pitch. The creator is literally instructing the director to use light and shadow to tell the story. As we'll see, they use the concept of darkness to represent struggle and light to represent success and clarity. It immediately establishes the emotional stakes of the narrative we're about to explore.
Section 1. The beginning of a dream, setting the scene in a poor village.
You know, every great story needs a compelling starting point, like a really steep mountain for our protagonist to climb. To build deep, immediate empathy, the source outlines this grueling chronological sequence. First, waking up super early while the rest of the world is still sleeping. Second, a physically demanding long walk to school. Third, staying completely attentive in class despite the exhaustion. And step 4, which is honestly the most critical visual note here, studying at night under low light. Remember that quote about darkness we just talked about? Well, here it is in action. A young boy hunched over a book in a dim room is just this universal symbol of relentless determination. It shows us, rather than tells us, just how badly he wants this.
Moving on to Section 2, Struggles and Sacrifices, the Support System.
So the crucial point the creator is making here is that our protagonist doesn't succeed alone, not at all. The brief actually outlines 4 distinct pillars of support: the mentorship and guidance of teachers, the liberating power of books, the immense sacrifices of parents. I mean, just imagine visualizing a father's worn-out hands on screen, and finally, learning alongside friends. By layering all these elements together, the pitch proves that education is really a collective societal effort, not just a solitary pursuit. It grounds the whole story in a strong community context.
All right, Section 3. The journey to success, transformation, and prosperity.
And this brilliantly illustrates the massive turning point the narrative demands after years of sacrifice using the sheer power of visual contrast. On one side, we've got the initial setup, right? The poor village, extremely limited resources, and that dim, low lighting. But then on the other side, we get a stark transition to the future. We're talking modern schools, bright libraries, advanced computers, and joyous graduation ceremonies. We are literally moving from the darkness of poverty straight into the high-tech light of prosperity. It's designed to make sure the audience feels the absolute full weight of this transformation.
But what does success actually look like in this specific brief? Well, the prompt specifies that the child should grow up to become a successful doctor, an engineer, or a teacher. So the ultimate goal here isn't just about acquiring a bunch of personal wealth, it's about entering noble professions. The text explicitly states the goal is serving their family and society. It brings the whole hero's journey full circle. Honestly, for any storyteller watching this, it's an absolute masterclass in giving your character a purpose that is way bigger than themselves.
Next up, Section 4, Golden Principles of Education, the core messaging.
Okay, so now we are moving right into the thematic heartbeat of the proposed project. The source actually demands specific on-screen subtitles to act as guiding principles for the viewer, and it starts with this one. Education is man's most valuable asset. That is such a powerful anchor. It reminds the audience that true wealth isn't the shiny technology or the modern buildings we were just looking at, it's the learning itself. It's an irreplaceable asset that literally cannot be stolen or diminished.
Let's move to the next point and see how this builds. The next subtitle requirement scales things up perfectly. An educated nation is a developed nation. See what they did there? The brief shifts the viewer's perspective from the micro to the macro. We started with just one boy in a dim room, expanded out to his family and community, and now the text explicitly connects his individual success to the progress of the entire country. It's saying that national development is simply the sum total of all these individual educational journeys.
Now we get this one. Today's hard work, tomorrow's success. This aphorism is placed in the brief to serve as the absolute, ultimate emotional payoff. It directly validates all those struggles we saw back in the first act. When the viewer reads this while watching the grown-up protagonist finally succeed,
It completely justifies the early mornings, the long walks, and the studying in low light. It's a promise delivered.
And that brings us to Section 5, Message of a Bright Future, Cinematic Conclusion. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that as we approach the end, the creator specifies exactly how they want the audience to feel, and they're demanding an incredibly high level of production value to get there. The source doesn't just want some simple home style recording. No, it explicitly demands cinematic lighting, ultra-realistic scenes, 4K Ultra HD resolution, and deeply emotional, hopeful music. And you have to ask, why go to all that trouble? Because the medium is the message. A premium, life-changing message requires a premium presentation. Finally, the brief wraps up by describing this beautiful closing shot of smiling children within a prosperous society, which just leaves you with this lingering feeling of hope. And the final instruction is to display this ultimate call to action. Get an education, fulfill your dreams. It leaves us with a really provocative thought to chew on. A simple message about going to school is something we hear basically every day. But when it's elevated through meticulous visual storytelling, careful lighting, and highly structured emotional arcs, it truly has the power to inspire an entire generation. It shows us that how we tell a story is just as important as the story itself. Thank you so much for joining me on this detailed analysis. Keep learning and keep analyzing.